All right, our Blue Jays reporter Scott Mitchell joining us now from Target Field in Minneapolis. So the Jays go with Jose Berrios in Game 2. They pull him after 3 innings, go with Kikuchi. Jays fans are going to be talking about it all winter, Scott. You and I both know that. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this move. Is there any way to justify it whatsoever?
Yeah, no, it was the wrong decision, and there's a few reasons for that, and I'll kind of list them off here. I hope you got some time, because when you look at Kikuchi coming in, he went infield single, walk, single, suddenly you're losing. So that's the first step in this, in kind of going through this decision by John Schneider. And he was very emotional after the game in kind of talking about it, saying he realizes there's going to be criticism, hindsight's 2020, and everyone in the clubhouse was saying all the right things. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr. did say everybody was surprised that Berrios was coming out of that game. And you look at what he was doing on the mound. His stuff was up a tick, some of the best stuff he's had all season. He's super sharp. He's cruising, essentially. Obviously a leadoff walk, but 47 pitches. That's just not normally something you see, even a playoff scenario, maybe if he was struggling. But look, they gave this guy $131 million. They tabbed him as their Game 2 starter, and they trusted him just to go 47 pitches, and those are 47 excellent pitches. So it's a really kind of a shocking move, and it's all driven by analytics. They had a plan coming into the game. Schneider said multiple plans, and he did allow that, he could have allowed Berrios to stay in that game. He was cruising, did say he was pitching very well. So, yeah, really a confusing decision from every single angle you want to look at it, and it's one that didn't work out at all.
And then the other side of it is they had a chance to come back. They stranded 9 base runners, Scott. So the base runners were there. They just weren't being driven home. We've talked about their offense so much. What's your takeaway from all these missed opportunities?
It's legitimately the story of the season. The reason they fell short this year, the reason they didn't even get to 90 wins in the regular season, that's the first time in 3 years now that they've taken a step backwards. And that's exactly what this club did this year, despite making the postseason. They took steps backwards. They didn't get better from the last 2 seasons we've seen this club. High-powered offense. Their pitching was very, very good this year. Their offense completely let them down. 2 runners stranded in the first inning, 2 more in the second inning, 1 in the third. So they had traffic. They just couldn't get a key hit, and that's been the story of the year. And you look at the numbers, and I asked a couple of the veteran guys, and they don't have an explanation. They really said, baseball's hard, we can't really understand this, but the ebbs and flows offensively this season were something we just haven't seen in recent Blue Jays history. When you look at the last couple of teams, high-powered offenses, so many down years this year. George Springer, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Matt Chapman, Alejandro Kirk. The list goes on of guys that didn't meet expectations, let alone exceed them. So the offense was completely the story of the season. It was the story coming into this series, and it let them down again.
So that makes 7 straight postseason losses by the Blue Jays by my count. They came into the season, Scott, with the 3rd best odds to win the American League. Surely someone has to pay for this collapse. Is it the manager? Does it go higher than that, in your opinion?
Look, I'm not sure what they do moving forward, but I do think there needs to be changes with the roster. We'll see with the front office. When you kind of look at dissecting this season, to me it kind of falls on the players. Like I said, there's a lot of players that had down years. You like the roster construction. You can't argue with the pitching staff. You can't argue with some of the guys they signed last year. Chris Bassett, Brandon Belt, Kevin Kiermaier were kind of guys that did meet expectations. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. They spent into the luxury tax for the first time. So this was a very expensive roster to go out with a whimper like this. So you got to look at the roster first and foremost, but it will be interesting. And Ross Atkins will have his exit presser next week sometime. So we'll probably get some more clarity on kind of how the front office and that side of things views obviously this disappointing loss.
Scott, you just said we'll get some clarity after a Ross Atkins press conference. That's never happened in the history of his tenure, so I have to disagree with you there. But I love talking to you, buddy. Travel home safe, and thanks for being on the show.
You're going out with a bang. I like that one.